Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that's going to change your life tonight. You ready? Here it is. Go where the fear is. Now, I know fear has been holding you back. I know it's been whispering in your ear, telling you all the reasons why you can't do something. But I'm here to tell you, fear is not the enemy, it's the signpost. Let me tell you something about fear. It ain't what you think it is. See, most people, when they feel fear, they want to run the other way. They see it and think, oh no, that's danger, that's trouble, that's something I need to avoid. But what if I told you that fear is actually trying to show you the way? You see, fear isn't a roadblock. Fear isn't something that stops you in your tracks. Fear is pointing you in the direction you need to go. It's like a GPS. You ever been driving down the road and the GPS tells you turn left in 200 feet, but you're like, doesn't look like a good turn. I'm scared of that turn, but when you turn anyway, you find out that's exactly the road you needed to be on. Fear is just like that. It's telling you, hey, you're on the right track. This is where your future is. This is where your growth is. This is where the breakthrough you've been praying for is waiting for you. The more you feel fear, the more you're moving toward what's meant for you. I know some of you are sitting there thinking, but what if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? Let me tell you something, you're not going to fail just by facing your fear. You're going to learn. You're going to grow. You're going to find out that all the things you were afraid of weren't even that bad. What's on the other side of fear isn't the monster you imagine. It's the life you've been dreaming of. The thing is, every time you take a step into that fear, you get closer to your destiny. You get closer to becoming the person you were always meant to be. Fear isn't there to hold you back. It's there to show you that you're about to step into something big, something great, something that's going to change you, elevate you, and push you to places you never thought you could go. So when fear shows up, don't run from it. Don't hide. Don't let it scare you into standing still. Let it be the signal that you're heading in the right direction. Let it be the compass that guides you toward everything you've ever wanted. And when you get to that place, I promise you, you'll look back and say, I'm so glad I followed that fear. Listen to me real close right now, because I need you to hear this. If you want to grow, if you want to get better, if you want to see change in your life, fear has to be part of the equation. It's just how it works. Growth doesn't happen when you're sitting in your comfort zone, kicking back, feeling all cozy and safe. That's not where change happens. Change happens when you're uncomfortable. It happens when you're doing something that scares you. That's the secret. Growth lives in the discomfort. You see, the minute you feel that knot in your stomach or that flutter in your chest, it's not a sign that you should stop. No. That's a sign you're right where you need to be. When you're scared, that's when you're on the verge of leveling up. It's like that feeling when you're about to make a big decision. You're unsure. You're questioning. You might even doubt yourself for a second, but that's exactly when the magic happens. You take that leap, you step into it, and that's when you grow. Now, I want you to understand this. If you're not scared, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You see, we all have a comfort zone. We all have this place where we feel safe and secure. And let me tell you, nothing happens in that space except staying the same. The only way to break through those walls and become the person you were meant to be is to step outside of it. You don't grow by playing it safe. You grow by risking it. You grow by making mistakes and learning from them. You grow by facing the fear head on and saying, I'm not backing down. If you're the type of person who's constantly avoiding fear, you're basically saying, I don't want to grow. I don't want to see what I'm truly capable of. But the moment you decide to move forward, despite how scared you are, you unlock a new level of strength you never knew you had. You become someone you couldn't even imagine yesterday. Fear pushes you to stretch beyond your limits. Let me tell you, every single person who's ever achieved anything worthwhile felt fear at some point. Every athlete, every entrepreneur, every leader, every successful person, they all face fear. But the ones who succeeded didn't let fear control them. They used it. They took that fear and turned it into fuel. They understood that growth wasn't about avoiding challenges. It was about embracing them, learning from them, and becoming better for having faced them. So the next time fear knocks on your door, don't run. Don't hide. Don't let it stop you. Welcome it. Choice. You could have taken a step forward, but instead you let fear make the decision for you. And the truth is, that's something you'll carry forever. Now, I know you're sitting there thinking, but what if it doesn't work out? What if I fail? Well, let me tell you something. Failing is part of life. Everybody fails. Everybody makes mistakes. It's part of the process. But you know what doesn't have to be part of the process? The feeling that you didn't even try. The feeling that you didn't even give yourself a shot. That's what will eat you up inside. That's what will keep you awake at night. Fear, you can handle. Regret, that's a tough one. Think about it. Do you want to be the person who looks back and says, I did everything I could. I went after it with everything I had, and it didn't work out, but at least I gave it my best. Or do you want to be the person who says, I never even tried. I was too scared to even make a move. I let fear stop me. You have to ask yourself, which one do I want to live with? And listen, I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. It's never easy to step into fear. But it's easier to deal with the temporary discomfort of fear than it is to live with the forever weight of regret. Fear will pass, it will fade, it will be a memory. But regret sticks with you like glue. It will follow you, taunt you, and remind you of what could have been. So the next time fear comes knocking, don't let it stop you. Don't let it make you shrink back. Don't let it dictate your life. Because you know what? There's nothing more painful than looking back and wishing you had acted. There's nothing worse than realizing you could have done something but didn't because you were scared. Fear is temporary, my friends, but regret will stick with you for a lifetime. So don't live with that weight. Step into the fear. Take the chance. Do it now, because there's no greater regret than the one that comes from not even trying. And believe me, when you push past fear, you'll thank yourself every single day for not letting that regret settle in. Let me drop something on you right now that you might not want to hear, but you need to hear. Every single time you face that fear head on, you get stronger. I know it might not feel like it in the moment. It might feel like you're stumbling, like you're struggling, like you're barely keeping it together. But listen to me, you're building strength every time you push through. When you're afraid, when your heart's racing and your palms are sweating, that's your body telling you, hey, we're in uncharted territory now. That's when you're growing, my friend. That's when your muscle is being built, not the muscle in your body, but the muscle in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit. Because strength isn't just about how much you can lift or how fast you can run. It's about how much you can take, how much you can endure, and how much you can rise up when life throws its hardest punches at you. Think about it. You don't get stronger by avoiding challenges. You don't get stronger by staying on the sidelines, watching other people chase their dreams while you sit there in the safety of what's comfortable. Nah, strength comes from stepping into the fire, from walking into the storm and standing tall, even when everything inside you is screaming for you to quit. You can't get stronger without the struggle. I don't care how many times you've fallen. I don't care how many times you stumbled or felt like you weren't enough. Every time you face that fear, you get back up. And every time you get back up, you're one step closer to becoming the person you're meant to be. You don't even realize it, but the fear is shaping you. It's molding you into someone tougher, someone more resilient, someone who can handle anything life throws at them. Fear pushes you past your limits. You think you've hit the wall, but it's only a stepping stone. It's when you look that fear in the eye and you say, I'm not backing down. I'm going forward anyway. That's the moment you break through. You break through your own limitations, you break through your doubts, and you break through all the things that told you, you can't do this. And you know what happens next. You realize that the next time fear shows up, you're not as scared as you were before. You've already been there. You've already done that. And the more you face it, the more you realize it's not as big and bad as you thought. You start to see that fear doesn't control you. It's just a signal that you're about to do something important. The more you face it, the less power it has over you. And that, my friend, is what makes you stronger. So when fear knocks on your door, don't run from it. Don't try to avoid it. Understand that it's the very thing that's making you better. Every time you face it, you get a little tougher, a little wiser, a little more capable. It's like training for the biggest fight of your life. The more you show up, the stronger you get. And when it's all said and done, you'll be able to look back and say, I've been through the fire. And I came out stronger. Because that's what fear does for you. It makes you rise. It makes you dig deep. It makes you powerful. It's not your enemy. It's your greatest trainer. It's the force that shapes you into the strongest version of yourself. And once you realize that, you won't run from it anymore. You'll embrace it and you'll walk right through it. Because that's what real strength is all about. Let me tell you something you might not want to hear, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Fear is your ticket to freedom. I know that sounds crazy. I know some of you are sitting there thinking, what in the world is he talking about? But hear me out. A lot of people think that safe path, the path where there's no fear, no risk, no struggle, that's where freedom lies. But let me tell you, that's not true. Real freedom, the kind of freedom that makes you feel like you're living your life on purpose, like you're walking in your destiny, that freedom is found on the other side of fear. You've got to understand that fear is not a barrier. It's not something that's meant to stop you. It's a signal that you're close to something great. It's like a neon sign saying, hey, this is where you need to be. When you're afraid, it's because you're about to step into something that will change your life forever. It's a place where your potential is waiting, but you've got to go through fear to unlock it. Think about it. Everything that's ever been worth achieving in this life, everything that brings true freedom, requires you to take a step into the unknown. When you're building something new, when you're chasing a dream, when you're pushing yourself to become something greater than you've ever been, that's where the fear shows up. And if you're brave enough to step through it, you unlock a version of yourself that was always inside you, just waiting to break free. See, if you keep playing it safe, if you keep avoiding the very things that scare you, you're locking yourself in a cage. You're locking yourself in a life that's just okay, a life that's comfortable, a life that's predictable. But that life, that's not freedom. Freedom is found when you choose to step out of your comfort zone. It's found when you choose to face that fear, that uncertainty, that discomfort and say, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. You want to talk about real freedom? Real freedom is when you stop letting fear control you. And instead, you use it to push yourself into greatness. It's when you stop letting fear hold you back from taking risks, from going after the life you've always dreamed of. And instead, you let it be the very thing that moves you forward. And here's the kicker, the more you do it, the more freedom you get. The more you embrace the fear, the less it has power over you. You stop seeing it as something to avoid and start seeing it as a tool that helps you break through limitations, a tool that takes you higher than you ever thought possible. Fear doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you free. Free from doubt, free from insecurity, free from the chains that keep you stuck in a life that's less than what you deserve. So when fear comes knocking, don't run, don't hide, don't give up. Step into it. Walk through it, because on the other side of that fear is the life you've been waiting for. The freedom that comes from taking a chance, from betting on yourself, from showing up even when you're scared to death, that's where your real freedom lies. And I promise you, when you get to the other side, you'll look back and say, I'm glad I walked through that fear, because now I'm truly free. Freedom ain't on the other side of comfort. It's on the other side of fear. I want you to get this. Fear is the doorway to everything you've ever wanted. It's the signal that you're right on the edge of something big. Most people, when fear shows up, they turn away. They back off. They shrink back into a safe zone because it feels too risky, too uncertain. But let me tell you, that's exactly where you need to be. When fear shows up, that's when you have the opportunity to push forward and unlock something greater than you could have imagined. You think about all the people you admire, people who've made a real impact, people who've done extraordinary things in their careers, their families. They didn't get to where they are by running from fear. They got there by leaning into it. By saying, I know this feels scary. I know there's a lot at stake, but I'm doing it anyway. Every breakthrough you've ever heard of started with fear. And guess what? Every breakthrough that's waiting for you right now starts the same way. Think about it. Fear makes you question yourself. It makes you doubt your abilities. It brings all your insecurities to surface. But guess what that means? It means you're standing at the threshold of your next level. It means that when you face that fear, you're actually confronting the next version of yourself. You're stepping into a new chapter of your life, and that's where breakthroughs happen, when you step outside of your comfort zone and rise to the occasion, even when everything inside you is telling you to stop. I'm telling you right now, the hardest thing in the world is not facing fear. The hardest thing is letting fear keep you in the same place. The hardest thing is waking up every day knowing that you're capable of more, but never going after it because you're afraid of failing, afraid of rejection, afraid of what might happen if you try. But here's the deal: if you don't go after it, you'll never know. You'll never see what could have been. And that, my friends, is the real tragedy. So I want you to understand something. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is the first sign that you're on the verge of something incredible. It's a wake-up call telling you this is where you need to be. This is where growth happens. That's why when fear knocks, don't retreat. Don't hide. Don't sit down. Stand tall. Step forward. Because on the other side of that fear is your breakthrough. And I promise you it's worth it. The things that scare you are the very things that will push you to rise higher than you ever thought you could. It's in those moments of doubt and uncertainty where you find out what you're really made of. Fear makes you tap into a strength you didn't even know you had. And when you finally push through it, when you face it head on and keep going, that's when the doors open. That's when you experience the kind of growth and success that others could only dream about. Let me close by saying this: fear is not your enemy. It's never been your enemy. It's the very thing that's trying to push you to places you've never been before. It's the signpost, the marker telling you you're on the right track. You've heard me say it today: fear is a compass. Fear is the pathway to freedom. Fear is the beginning of your breakthrough. Fear makes you stronger. And the one thing you need to take away from all of this is that fear is your greatest opportunity. It's the opportunity to step into the next version of yourself. It's the opportunity to grow, to learn, to become someone more powerful, more resilient, and more capable than you ever imagined. You don't have to live a life of regret. You don't have to live in the shadow of fear. Fear is going to come whether you like it or not, but you get to decide how you respond. Do you run from it, or do you face it and use it to fuel your next move? The truth is, you're never going to get where you need to go by playing it safe. The safe road doesn't lead to greatness. The road that leads to greatness is filled with uncertainty, filled with fear, but also filled with endless possibility. So the next time fear shows up in your life, and it will show up, remember this: fear is not the end of the road. It's the beginning. It's the first step in a journey that will take you farther than you ever thought possible. Go where the fear is. Step into it, move through it, and watch as you break through to something greater than you've ever imagined. And when you do, when you get to that next level, you'll realize it was worth every ounce of courage, every moment of doubt, every step into the unknown. Because that's where the magic happens. That's where you become the person you were always meant to be. So go ahead and embrace your fear and step into your greatness. You got this. Thank you.